Yeah, welcome back. You're still on to Editors Forum, exclusive to Galaxy Television. And right here, we're talking about the Boko Haram insurgencies, especially the beheading of Khan chairman and other deaths that have occurred due to Boko Haram insurgencies. Now, we're rightly joined by Amotekun. Thank you very much for joining us on the show.
My pleasure.
Okay, so quickly, what's your reaction on this? We have Christians saying that this is persecutions of Christians in Nigeria. A lot of people have called it religious bigotry, and some of them have also called, or rather lamented, the slow pace of the federal government in handling the issue of Boko Haram in Nigeria. What's your own take on this?
Well, it's a difficult situation for the country and Nigerians generally. Will I say it is persecution against the Christians? I will not look at it precisely from that angle, because of course in the killings we've seen Muslims being killed, we've seen Christians being killed. But the fact of the matter is that the federal government is not helping matters. For instance, when some young schoolgirls were kidnapped last time, and out of the whole lot, only one still remains in captivity. And that lady is Leah Sharibu, who, as we are told, is left behind because she refused to denounce her faith, which is Christianity. Yeah. It becomes a problem. The federal government seems to be sitting on its pants, not doing enough to rescue that young woman. Then when during Christmas 10 Christians were beheaded, I think that made a very loud statement. And again, we've seen the local chairman of Khan in Adamawa State also going through the same faith. What is the federal government doing? Is it doing enough? Is it when it involves people of other faiths, there seems to be a proactiveness in what the federal government does that gives this impression that not enough is being done to protect the Christians. But to outrightly argue that Boko Haram is targeting only Christians, we have enough evidence to show that Muslims are also suffering. It is suffering what I call collateral damage in this battle that is unnecessary and that is callous and mean-spirited.
Okay. All right, you talked about the issue of Leah Sharibu, but we also know that the journalist who revealed the death of the Khan chairman said that one case stands out in the adoption, that's of Leah Sharibu and the 2018 Dapchi schoolgirls. And of course, we had all the reports that she was somewhere around Lake Chad region, but we've not had any report concerning that again. Now, concerning this Khan chairman, we also have news that they asked for 2 million euros, and they were only able to raise 50 million naira, which was flatly rejected. Now, are we seeing a deviation from their means of attack? I mean, this time around, they're asking for ransoms now. Ayobaje.
Thank you very much. Section 14, subsection 2B of the 1999 Constitution, as amended, clearly spells out the functions of government. And it starts with security, guaranteeing security of the citizens.
Okay.
Before you even talk about the welfare, which means that when a government is in place and it has refused to live up to that mandate, some questions have been triggered. For instance, I've sat down to ask myself, why was there a change of government back in 2015? One of the reasons was the hope, the promise made by the current administration, that they were going to step up the game as far as ensuring the security of lives and property of Nigerians. But some 4.5 years down the line, has it been so? And you ask yourself, who is gaining from these killings? Because that question is very fundamental. Until we find, you use what we call the root cause analytical approach. Sometimes huge sum of money was, more or less taken from the Federation account just to, combat the issue of insurgency, and of course the banditry, the kidnappings, spray here and there. But there is no value for the money taken. So you have to ask that critical question: who and who are gaining from these killings? That is one. The second aspect that we have to look at and holistically is this: why will you, as an individual or as a party, make promises that you cannot fulfill?
Okay.
You see, leadership takes vision, the ability to be able to, analyze, identify problems and the solutions that you want to have to them. Leadership also takes courage, and that courage doesn't mean that it's something that you exhibit and you have a level playing field, no matter whose ox is God. That is very, very critical. So what we have seen now is that we have heard series and series of complaints from soldiers that are not as equipped as the insurgents or as the bandits.
Okay.
Then you ask yourself, what about the huge sums of money, the humongous sums of money that have been earmarked for arms and ammunition? So we have to, take a critical look at this issue. Then partnerships do come in. You cannot do it alone. Information, very sensitive information gathering mechanism, and the ability to, more or less analyze such, and then of course you use the instrument of government to enforce, to implement those recommendations. Because what? You want to protect the lives and property of the citizenry. Once you are not able to do that, then it calls to question, your promises, your mandate. Then we have a government that comes up very quickly. One, they never admit to any fault. Is it from the Transparency International, any international organization that says, okay, something is not being done in this area, the government is not proactive enough, and all the rest. The issue of insecurity is not being tackled well. There are some countries that have been identified as maybe supplying arms and ammunition and all the rest. But this thing go through all the responses from the federal government. They will tell you they are never wrong. And I think the government must be true to itself and the people. Admit it where you are wrong. Look for the loopholes. How do we, more or less build these loopholes? Who are they? Then find out the kingpins, those who are gaining financially or otherwise from this. Then the issue of religion, well, we hope it is not, but you don't say one thing and we see another thing playing out.
Okay, thank you very much, Ayobade. Now, still on the Boko Haram insurgencies, in tackling it, we know that a bit last year they will be quiet, so it was quite surprising when early this year we see lots of cases of Boko Haram insurgencies in the country. Now, in tackling this, the Nigerian defense says it is rehabilitating and releasing former Boko Haram fighters as a shift from the use of arms and weapons to a soft approach to the war against insurgency in the northeastern Nigeria. Meanwhile, while they're saying they're releasing repentant Boko Haram persons, we also know that Boko Haram attacks on highways have increased, and there are fears that this can cut off Borno from Nigeria. We also know that due to Boko Haram attacks, electricity to Maiduguri in northern Nigeria has also been cut. Now, back to you, Dayo Kayode. We are hearing of this now, and we're looking at this new defense mechanism that you're talking about, rehabilitating them and not using arms and weapons. Do you see that as a sustainable way forward out of this menace? Okay.
I'm going to be totally different, conceptually, from my two brothers. Because in Yoruba, which I also interpret, they always say, gbígbó ajá kò ní kẹ́nu ajá yá kíkan àgbò kò ní kórè àgbò kó lù wò. That is, the barking of a dog does not say that the mouth of that dog will tear off. While the fighting of the ram will not create a hole inside the head. Without us saying the way it is, we can't get to nowhere. And because I am a passionate Nigerian, I'm going to approach this from this angle. Two ways. There is what we call fifth columnist, okay, which now developed into conspiracy theory. Let me take you back a little bit to 2000 and towards the last election, when Madam Taraba resigned from government. You remember that woman from Taraba? And we said if our government is not careful, she will spill beans.
Yes.
As regards Chibok girls. That is to say, there is what we call both conspiracy among both national and international political leaders. Some 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, I came up on one platform as regards this conspiracy theory between you and Rita. The following day, Punch carried it. I still have that Punch, whereby a particular ambassador, I will mention the ambassador now, also mentioned this issue of conspiracy theory. Now, look at it again. They are saying they are rehabilitating. To what extent are you rehabilitating? Have you been able to rejig their brains? Is it also true, as you have been hearing in the past few weeks, that some of them are now being recruited into the army? We have been reading it in the social media, and you are saying we should not believe in social media, but we are not saying you are rehabilitating them. Can you defend that rehabilitation? Are you with me? Because there is no way a leopard will ever change his skin. A leopard will always be a leopard. So where are we heading to? This will not happen around Chad. Have you forgotten that one particular governor went to that same Chad to settle some people? Yes or no? Do you understand? Why that same Chad? Why are you now afraid of those people that now said, okay, we have had enough in our own region. We want to form a kind of an alliance to fight these people. Why are we afraid? I'm talking about Amotekun now. So these are issues that Nigerians need to put together. It's like a mosaic. Do you understand? That you need to put together for it to form the proper structure. If you are not able, if you don't understand the dynamics of how mosaic works, you will not be able to form a wall with it. And without you forming a wall with it, where is that your defense mechanism? Rita, this thing is beyond what we are saying. Nigerians, so many of we Nigerians, we are refusing to say the truth because of what we are expecting to gain. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, those that are expecting to gain, they be the loser for it. They be the loser for it. Because this country belongs to everybody. They are just trying now to say, oh, I just want Khan to be a bit careful.
Okay.
I want Khan to be a bit careful. It's a pity. I mean, my condolences to the families, the groups that those people belong to. But they should also look back. There are a lot of imams, a lot of sheikhs too that have been killed. They are just trying as much as possible to use that as divisive among the people, so that the Christians will rise against the Muslim. But some of us, we have learned enough lessons as regards that. We ain't going to allow that one, to disturb us.
Okay, talking about Khan, you know they've also called for the sack of the Security Council. What would you say to that?
Yes, you see, that's what I'm saying, Khan should also be a bit careful in their reactions. Yes, they are supposed to react that way, Because when you kill a member of a particular group, those people, I mean, they are going to be bereaved, and out of that bereavement, you can expect all sort of reactions. All right, but to now suspend Security Council, I wouldn't subscribe to suspending Security Council rather than look at the structure of that Security Council. How is it composed?
Okay.
Do you understand? Let us look at the composition of that Security Council and ensure that probably we change the structure to be able to make it to be more functional.
Okay.
Because when it is one-sided in quotes, it will be functional.
Okay, sorry, I have to pause you there. Let me get the views of Amechi. Do you feel that the Security Council in Nigeria is competent enough?
You see, when I made my first remark, I did say, and of course, Makayode in his closing remark has agreed with, that this is not about
religion.
Targeting Christians, they say, because Muslims have been killed.
Okay.
My problem here, and that is where I agree with Khan. President Muhammad Buhari's body language,
God bless him,
does not suggest or does not give room to the kind of liberal attitude or liberal disposition that we ought to have over this issue. And that is where this Security Council, I mentioned this issue last night with somebody who is in government. And I said, how can you defend the fact that of the whole 17 or 19 members of the National Security Council, only about 2 of them are from the South?
How do you defend that?
You can't. Again, most of them are due for retirement.
Okay.
The Chief of Army Staff ought to have retired last year. Ditto the Chief of Naval Staff. Most of them are due for retirement. Why are you keeping them in office? More so when the security situation in this country is not getting better. If it is a situation where, we all know where we were in 2015. And you are now saying, as of 2019, we have reduced the level of insecurity to about 20% from what it used to be. You may have justification to say, okay, these military guys who did this wonderful job, we can keep them and see if we can reduce this to the barest minimum, let's say 5%. But what is on the table? There's enough evidence to show that rather than abetting, all pretensions to the contrary notwithstanding, rather than abetting, the level of insecurity is going up.
Exactly.
The government will come out to say they had technically defeated Boko Haram, but this is the same Boko Haram that is effectively attacking military infrastructure.
So you're saying that the issue now lies with the president?
Exactly.
Completely. He is the commander-in-chief.
Exactly.
Okay.
All these appointments are at his place.
And call.
So, Khan is not saying suspend. What Khan is saying that the security architecture must be the key.
Exactly.
All right. Okay. All right, talking about security architecture, you've talked about rejigging of security architecture. Now, in part of handling this, we know that there was the issue of Amotekun. For the past 2 weeks, we're talking about the Southwest-based operation tagged Amotekun. And we know finally federal government and governors in their meeting, as they say, as the vice president said, and the special advisor released that they have agreed finally on it. So you see it as a way forward, but let's look at, you know that a former governor of Lagos also reacted to this comment on Amotekun. So quickly, let's hear from you.
You see, I wouldn't want to go to the former Lagos State governor's remarks because he said something which I will also pick.
Okay.
There are some things that some of us that comes to television houses and all that to talk that people will easily pick and then be making this out of it. So we got to also be careful on something. But on Amotekun, Like I said on the other platform, I said Amotekun can never and will never be equated to devolution of powers of the police. No, and I will explain. Just like police cannot be likened to army, nor army likened to Air Force, nor Air Force likened to Navy. Each and every one of them, they have their various functions to perform. Look at it. Like on my street, on Wednesday, one hoodlum was caught around 2 a.m. Will the police do that? It's our neighborhood watch that did that. So if that won't happen in our neighborhood watch, within our neighborhood, and some other adjacent neighborhoods, some other things are happening that are also happening in our own, is there any crime in us coming together to form one strong force? No. So also is Amotekun. Amotekun people, they are using Betu and Ifunpa and the Wo, unlike the police. They can put something on the floor, and whoever passes through that place will fall down and be waiting for them there. Police don't use that. So how can you now say you want to cancel Amotekun? Along the line, look at Ibadan, Oshogbo, Ilesha, Akure on axis. When those guys came, the so-called the then Abekoya, they came out now with only their funpa, the wood, the orishirishi. They put it on the floor, and you can see thunder striking their cows anyhow, and they ran away. And they ran away. Right. So and they decided to now come together and say, since this thing is happening within us, these are states that has a contiguous boundary. Why can't we come together and by buying vehicles and giving it a good color? What has that got to do?
Okay, I think Dr. Dayo has strongly given his points there on the issue of Amotekun.
I mean, why are we afraid?
Go ahead. And the federal government and the Southwest government, they say they've agreed on Amotekun, but even the federal government has still said that he will go in line with the issue of community policing. Of course, this was also reiterated by the APC chieftain and the former governor of Lagos State, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Let me just say a line that he gave when he was responding to comments on Amotekun. He said, judging from the public statements of Southwest governors, Amotekun was meant to be structured along the line of his neighborhood watch, which he created to assist the police in tackling security challenges strictly through information sharing. The APC's chieftain said as much as he strongly believed in community policing, he did not think Amotekun should have a regional outlook or be implemented in a way that could result in problems. Well, we are all looking for ways. I think everybody should join hands together and find ways how to move out from this menace. Boko Haram insurgencies, kidnapping. We also know that there have been lots of assassinations in this week, lots of hearty faithfuls being assassinated. So I think we should all come together, collaborate, and deal with the issue of security.